When I was young, I figured that I would someday understand how girls think. Just like I figured I would someday understand Albert Einstein's theory of relativity. I had my first girlfriend in 8th grade. This is back in the 1970s. Her name was Nancy Markowitz. It was very innocent. We held hands. Okay, we also made out in her parents' basement. Now, Nancy's family moved to another town, but Nancy and I stayed close friends for many, many years. I used to go to her house on a regular basis for birthday parties, pool parties, stuff like that. So I was at one of Nancy's birthday parties, and I was talking to a friend of hers named Barbara, and we talked for a long time. Barbara was very smart. She was also very pretty. I liked her freckles. And after spending this much time with her, I felt that she liked me and that she would want to spend more time with me, but I was too shy to ask her for her phone number. So as I was leaving the party, I spoke to Nancy. Hey, could you give me your friend Barbara's phone number? Oh, I never like to give a phone number without checking with the other person and making sure it's okay. Well, I thought that made pretty good sense. So 2 days later, I called Nancy on the phone. So, can I have your friend Barbara's phone number? Barbara told me she doesn't like you. Really? We spent a lot of time talking, and she even laughed at my jokes. Barbara told me she was just being polite. Oh, okay, well, thanks. Now, that was pretty rough on my self-esteem. First of all, I learned that Barbara didn't like me, but also it made me question my ability to understand girls. Now, as time went on, Nancy had other boyfriends, but I really had trouble getting other girlfriends because I was generally too shy to ask out the girls I went to school with, because if they said no, I still have to see them every day. So meeting girls at Nancy Markowitz's house was great because they went to a different school. So I was at another party at Nancy's house, and I met a friend of hers named Rita. Now, Rita was a big movie fan, like I was. You're crazy. Jaws 2 is scarier because all the people who get eaten are teenagers. I'm not saying Jaws 2 wasn't scary. I'm just saying I missed Richard Dreyfuss and Robert Shaw. How could you miss Robert Shaw? He got eaten in the first movie. Okay, Rita was a teenage girl who liked talking about horror movies. She was a real find, okay? And I felt so comfortable with her that I asked her to dance. And we did dance. But I was still too shy to ask her for her phone number. So when I was leaving the party, I pulled Nancy aside. Hey, can you give me Rita's phone number? Rita has a boyfriend. Well, if Rita had a boyfriend, why did she dance with me? And why did she spend all that time talking with me? Was I ever going to understand girls? Another time, I was simply visiting Nancy's house, and she had a friend over named Pam. The three of us went swimming in Nancy's pool, and then we went up to Nancy's bedroom and we played Monopoly. At one point, Nancy left the room, and I got up enough courage and I asked Pam for her phone number, and she gave it to me. The next day, I got a phone call from Nancy. You do not want to date Pam. She is really mean to guys. She seemed nice. Yeah, she does that, but then she'll cut you off at the knees. Oh, well, thanks for looking out for me. So I didn't call Pam. Now, time was going by, and Nancy and I went off to separate colleges. Now, in December of 1979, Nancy's family threw a big New Year's party to celebrate the start of the new decade, the 1980s. I was invited, and I met a lot of Nancy's aunts and uncles for the first time. Now, one of the people that I met was Nancy's cousin, Lenine. Lenine looked kind of like Nancy, but she was a year younger than we were. She was a senior in high school. Lenine had done a lot of the baking for the party, and Lenine kept bringing me cookies that she had made. I was enjoying her company, and then Nancy pulled me over to the side. "Do you like Lenine?" "Yeah, she's really nice." "She is not for you. She had VD last year, and she's having sex with one of her teachers. Also, I was at a party where Lenine got drunk, and she took off her top, and she gave blowjobs to all of the guys in front of everyone." Oh my God. "I thought you should know." But she seems nice. So I stayed away from Lenine for the rest of the party. So a few years later, Nancy and I were college seniors. We got together for lunch, and by this time I felt more sophisticated, and that maybe I was starting to understand the female mind. So I brought up a subject that I had been thinking about. Now listen, it's not that I'm saying that I think that you've been carrying a torch for me all these years, but I think it would be normal for a woman to feel a bit possessive about whatever guy had been her first boyfriend. "What are you talking about?" "Well, over the years, I've sometimes gotten the feeling that you didn't want me to date your friends." "That's silly. You can date my friends if you want to." "Okay, it's just something I was thinking." About 5 years later, Nancy invited me to her wedding. By this time, I had a serious girlfriend, and I brought her with me as my date. Before the ceremony, I recognized Nancy's cousin, Lenine, and I went over to her, and I said, "Hi, don't you remember we met at that New Year's Eve party?" And I introduced my girlfriend. Later, at the reception, Lenine spoke to me privately. "That woman you're with, is she really your girlfriend, or is she just a friend?" "She's really my girlfriend. Why?" "Well, it's just that when you and I met at that New Year's Eve party, I told Nancy I liked you, and she said you were gay." That was all about 30 years ago. I really don't talk to Nancy much anymore. I never did learn to understand Einstein's theory of relativity. I am, however, married to a wonderful woman I've been with for 21 years, and we're going to be moving to Iowa. And I have learned now that I will never understand how women think. Thank you.